So, this marathon in the emergency room hallway was so different than the marathon and half marathons and 10Ks I ran. For those races, I knew the day it was going to happen. I trained for weeks or months in advance of that, so my body knew how to do what it was going to do. I even prepared mentally for how to kind of attack the race because, especially in longer races, you get a lot of physical input and it can start to get in your head and make you wonder, am I going to make it? How am I doing? What's going on with that knee? And you need a positive direction to sort of point your thoughts. And I would prepare for that. I was telling you earlier how I would write on my arm various things like a plan of what I would focus on mentally when I was in a race. This emergency room hallway, I didn't know I was going to be there. I didn't know how long I was going to be there. The main thing I knew was that I was in crazy, crazy pain and I didn't really understand why. So, there we are. I've told you about the hostess, and now we're waiting over there to eventually get to a hallway bed. I don't, time is fuzzy. I don't know how long we waited there, but it was 12:56 p.m. So I think we left the house around 10:30 in the morning. 12:56 p.m. I'm now on the hallway bed and a nurse has come to talk to me. It didn't seem like that was too long a wait. And shortly after that, a doctor came to talk to me, and I was like, oh, I like the pace here. This is good. This is good. I'll be out of here in no time. And I was very, very wrong about that. So 12:56, the triage notes from that nurse interview, and around 9:30, so about 8.5 hours later, I am in a room in the hospital in the process of being admitted. So for this 8.5 hours, I'm in the hallway. And when I talked before about something else was taking care, what I meant was this was different from a race because I wasn't directing myself on keeping a good mental game. I obviously had no mental plan for this. And there was very little coaching that I was fully directing myself. Um, when things started to get extreme, okay, for this whole time, my pain never goes below a 6. No drug takes it under a 6. I'm never physically comfortable, and sometimes the pain escalates to an 8 or a 9. And the only direction I felt that wasn't coming from me was this force that would sort of steer me away gently from thinking, the kind of thinking. It was like, that way madness lies, look over here. But I felt it happening to me rather than me directing it. It was super cool. And when I think back about, I was looking at my text messages with my wife and looking at notes of different exams and tests from people during this marathon. I I don't know how I made it through. I don't know how I didn't just freak out and panic and become one of those people that they just sedate to chill them out. I don't know how, except there was this guiding force. It was really, it was, um, I realized afterward that it had been there. And what happened in my mind during this time, what I realized later I was doing was focusing in on the different scenes, the different snippets of life that were happening around me. I was laying down. I could only see what I could see looking down from the bed I was on. I had no nurse's button. I was just up against a wall in a hallway, and there were a series of targets, right? Like each person who leaves you with a little crumb of a thing we're looking forward to. All right, so soon we're going to have an MRI and somebody's going to be by to take you to there. We're just waiting on. They leave you with that crumb, and it's like a target that you're focusing on. But that way madness lies, because everything fucking takes forever. And it's not because anybody's being lazy. It's because there's so much suffering um, all around. And the people who are there have who are taking care of all of us have. I'll try to say that part later. I won't even be able to say it out loud. So I want to do a collage for you of the different scenes that came across my mind that I focused on. And for me, it was almost entirely an audio play. So I'm going to give you an audio collage. The first thing you have to know is every 30 minutes, without fail, a person walks through the center of this hallway with two large industrial sized trash cans on wheels. Big gray trash cans with loud industrial strength trash bags. One is pushed in front of him, one is behind him. He's walking at pace in this hallway. There's room in this hallway for my bed, his two trash cans, if one's in front and one's behind, and maybe the width of one more bed on the other side. Every 30 minutes, the trash cans roll by. Every other time they roll by, one of them bumps my hallway bed, sending a lightning bolt of pain through me. It's not his fault. I don't know what's going on with the trash in this ER, but they are on it. They are ready for trash changing needs every 30 minutes. About every 5 to 10 minutes, EMS arrival, Bay 3, EMS arrival, Bay 3. About every 30 minutes, life flight arrival, ETA 4 minutes, life flight arrival. There's a woman in a room probably 30 feet from me who is shrieking. Shrieks of terrible, terrible pain coming out of this room. Over the course of a few hours, it takes a long time for her to be comfortable. Over the course of a few hours, I come to hear from this room as she's reporting to someone, and I think her mother is there with her. She, I think, just had a C section, and there were staples used, and the staples were coming out. The sounds were terrible. She was in so much pain. There was a guy just around the corner from me, 10 feet from me, with something going on with his hand. And I heard a whole conversation of a doctor coming over explaining. So, obviously, we're going to go into surgery here. Now, you need to know we're going to do the best we can, but probably this one and this one we're not going to be able to save. And then I think this huge bandage that has been on his hand gets unwrapped. And as it's getting unwrapped, this terrible, guttural scream comes out. It's obviously very tender. This guy is in so much pain. He's sitting in a chair. He's just in a chair. And I think his wife are sitting in a chair while this is happening to him in the hallway. And he's in all this pain. And the doctor is using like I think they call it a Doppler scanning thing, and he's looking at blood flow in the fingers and saying, okay, so see here, we have nothing going on in that finger. Now, there is a little bit more than I thought we'd see in this finger, so there's a chance we're going to be able to save that. And he walks them through each of the stages of this surgery. It sounds like an extremely complex surgery dealing with veins and nerves and muscles and bones, and then eventually plastic surgery. He's walking through all the steps, and this guy is in so much pain. Right next to me is a nurse's station. I hear two male voices and two female voices, and it's flirting. I don't know, like they could have been speaking any language. It was just universal, like tons of energy going back and forth, sort of grandstanding, joking, and it's just flirting behavior. And these sounds, this screaming, they're 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 right next to me and I'm right next to it. This is their life. This is the soundtrack of their working life. Dilaudid pain control is so hard. They have not figured out how to control my pain. And the guy says, I'm going to get you some Dilaudid. That should help. So I have a port in my arm, an IV port. And Dilaudid should be called diluted because it gives you the idea that it's going to help you. And for me, it would take pain down for 5 minutes, and then the pain would come back and I would feel drugged for half an hour. And I found myself when people came by like, this stuff is useless. Oh my God, I barely did anything and now I just feel drugged. Yeah, honey, sometimes it can do that. It's not great at staying with you very long. I'm sorry. All right, we'll try to get you some help. We'll try to get you something else. I get a series of additional pain medication added to my IV port. I think it's something called Toradol, which is non narcotic but still prescription. I don't know. It was nothing got me below a 6 with pain the whole time, all 8.5 hours. I'm never still. I never feel like I fall completely asleep. There's a car accident and there's a care transfer that happens at the foot of my bed. The EMS guys are standing there. They've moved the patient from the EMS cart onto the hallway bed, and they describe for me and the hand guy and his family and all the people waiting very nervously, pacing around the room next to them, worried about their family member. All of us get to hear what happened to this woman in this car accident, airbags deployed, lacerations here, possible fracture here, pain is at this. And later I'm wheeled by her, and she's just laying there in a neck brace with some blood still on her face, a miserable look pasted of pain pasted on her mouth, and she's got an earpiece in, and she's talking to a family member and sobbing. I hear the sound of two other nurses. The nurses' station is to my left, and to my right, there's a nurse's desk where they sit down and on a little stool and are typing in notes. And I hear the sound for like 10 minutes of somebody walking by and massaging somebody else's shoulders. And they're not subtle about how good it's feeling. And there's like the good feeling massage sounds combined with the agony of the Staples woman. The trash cans come by. EMS arrival, Bay 5, life flight arrival. There's a whole hour and a half of announcements about Code Walker, followed by a description of an elderly man in his 70s with what he's wearing, and last seen with a woman with blonde hair, Code Walker. I have my phone, and after hearing this every 5 minutes, Code Walker, I decided to look up what is Code Walker, and somebody who's on a mental health watch, maybe there's dementia or confusion or something, has just walked out of their room. So this is apparently going over the entire hospital for 90 minutes every 5 minutes. And there's an update about 45 minutes in, now not believed to be wearing a hospital uniform. And I asked the nurses about it, and they say, yeah, we hear this all the time. We hear it all day. I'm waiting for an MRI. My port has come out of my arm. Now I'm waiting for a new port because there's going to be contrast with the MRI. I think it's about to happen. It ends up being 2 hours later. I have to pee. I'm in so much pain, and I realize my thoughts for an hour are, how does this even happen? I don't know what to do here. And I wait for a long time for this a guy to come, and they lower the cart, get me into a wheelchair. He takes me. It takes forever. It's so uncomfortable. I'm miserable. I get back to my hallway bed. Finally, I'm told the head of neurology is here. She's coming soon. She's going to examine you and talk about next steps. EMS arrival, Bay 1, life flight arrival, trash cans. Code Walker is canceled. Code Walker is now canceled. So finally at 9:30, I'm taken to a room, marathon in the hallway of the emergency room, surrounded by all this suffering, surrounded by all these people whose chosen work is to be here. And this force was with me, guiding me to not let my thinking go to the bad place, to steer left or right of panic and just focus on the life that's here. And every 5 minutes, a sound reminded me I am far, far from the worst case in here tonight. And some people are not walking out of here tonight.